Chosen one. Have you ever scrolled past something so ordinary, maybe just a sentence in a caption, a short reel, or a quiet whisper from a stranger, and suddenly felt your spirit jolt? As if heaven itself reached through the veil to grab your attention. You paused. Your heart responded before your mind could rationalize it. And in that moment, something ancient inside you whispered, "That was for me. That was no accident. That message wasn't random. That moment wasn't just coincidence, it was a divine code, tailored by the realm of spirit, crafted specifically for your path. Because, chosen one, your journey isn't navigated by logic alone. You're not meant to rely solely on what can be measured or explained. Your soul speaks a language older than language. It vibrates on frequencies others can't hear. And when divine codes are sent from above, your spirit already knows how to read them. Let's speak plainly. Those so-called random messages are often spiritual signals, breadcrumbs, alignments. They show up not to entertain you, but to awaken you, to activate something sleeping inside you, to remind you of a truth you didn't even know you had forgotten. That's why you feel something in your chest when a certain phrase echoes in your mind, why you keep replaying a certain sentence someone said in passing, why you've stopped scrolling and suddenly felt tears in your eyes from a line you didn't expect to land the way it did. That was your angel speaking. That was a code, a whisper written in heaven's ink, slipped into your awareness in just the right moment to shift your direction, your understanding, your readiness. And guess what? The world around you may never notice it, because it wasn't meant for them. Before we dive deep into this message, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because this isn't just content. It's a divine confirmation for the chosen ones who feel those nudges, who see the signs, and who know that random never means accidental when you're walking a spiritual path. Let's start at the root of this. You were born with an inner compass, not the kind that points north, but the kind that points within. A spiritual GPS that doesn't need a signal tower, because it's tuned directly to the realm you came from. Most people are taught to override that inner knowing. They're conditioned to listen only to logic, to follow the rules of the seen world, to dismiss anything they can't explain. But you were never built that way. You feel things before they happen. You notice the energy shift in a room before anyone else speaks. You dream in signs. You wake up with revelations you didn't study for. You've always known too much, and yet had no idea how you knew it. And that's why, when divine codes pass through your field, your atmosphere, your awareness, they don't need to make sense. They just need to resonate. Because that's how spirit speaks, not in sentences, but in sound. Not in words, but in energy. Not in logic, but in knowing. That stirring you feel when something clicks. When a video finds you just when you needed it. When a line in a song stops you cold, that's the divine saying, you're not alone. You're on track. Stay awake. Here's the beautiful and mysterious truth. Your angel knows how to reach you, not through thunder and lightning, not always through scripture or sacred ceremony. Sometimes through the ordinary, the overlooked, the scroll-through moments that land like a whisper wrapped in light. You might think, but why would God use a TikTok? Why would my angel speak through a YouTube comment or a stranger's conversation I wasn't even part of? Because the divine does not need your permission to reach you. The divine only needs your openness. And your openness, your sensitivity to spirit, is not a weakness. It's not foolish. It's a gift. It's the very signal that allows you to recognize these divine appointments when they arrive. That's why your spirit perks up when certain words hit your ears. It's why your chest warms when you hear someone say something that echoes your secret prayers. It's why you sometimes cry without knowing why, because your soul just got fed. That message was for you, and yet others may not see it. They may call it coincidence. They may laugh it off, saying you're just reading into things. But you know better. You've learned that spirit is subtle, that heaven rarely screams, it whispers, that angels often dress in human skin and speak in metaphors, that the codes come wrapped in stories, videos, lyrics, and offhand remarks. They won't always be stamped with "From God" in bold letters, but they'll carry His frequency, and you'll know it when you feel it. Chosen one. Understand this. You were designed to recognize what others ignore. That's why you get goosebumps when no one else does. Why a message will stay with you for days when everyone else already forgot it. Why you walk away from just another video with a heart that feels like it's been cracked open, because to the world, it was random. But to your spirit, it was sacred. Let's go deeper. The divine isn't confined to temples and churches. Your angels don't wait for Sundays. Spirit speaks constantly, but only those tuned in will catch the frequency. And that's you. You're tuned in. You're spiritually wired to notice patterns. You're one of the few who sees synchronicity not as weird, but as divine alignment. Numbers, colors, timing. It's all part of the code. And when the message arrives, it's never premature, never misplaced. It's always on time. There's a sacred choreography happening around you every day. The people you bump into, the text that came just as your faith was wavering, the quiet voice that told you not to go that route, the post that said exactly what you needed to hear. You don't need to force understanding in the moment. You only need to stay present. The understanding will arrive. Sometimes later, sometimes instantly. But the moment of receiving the code is enough to shift your reality. And let's talk about that shift, because each time you receive a divine code, even just a sentence that sticks to your ribs, your soul expands. A layer falls off. A memory returns. A truth sharpens. You are not just getting signs. You are being spiritually recalibrated. Your DNA is remembering who you really are. And the more you respond, the more codes you'll receive. Because the realm of spirit is a relationship, not a transaction. You respond to the message, and heaven sends more. You obey the prompting, and your alignment sharpens. You honor the divine nudge, and your next instruction arrives. And yes, some messages will shake you. They won't always comfort you. Some will disrupt your plans. Some will convict your heart. But even those are acts of divine mercy, because your calling is too high for you to stay asleep. That's why your angel will risk your comfort for your clarity, your peace for your purpose, your timing for your truth. So when the random message finds you and you know in your bones it was for you, don't doubt it. Don't explain it away. Don't talk yourself out of the confirmation you know you just received. Because that's how the enemy works. He sows doubt right after revelation. He tries to make you question the very word that was meant to empower you. Don't let him. You're not crazy. You're not desperate. You're not too deep. You're chosen. You've been marked by light. And the realm of spirit is speaking because your steps matter too much to be left to chance. So honor the code. Write it down. Sit with it. Speak it aloud. Let it guide your next move. Because it didn't come to entertain you. It came to awaken you. Chosen one. You're not imagining the signs. You're not reaching. You're receiving. And this is just the beginning. You may have wondered, why do these divine messages come through such strange sources? Why does a line from a movie hit harder than a sermon? Why does a billboard on the highway shake something in your chest more than 1,000 prayers? Why does a friend casually say something that feels like heaven just reached down and laid a finger on your soul? Chosen one. It's because the divine isn't bound by your expectations. Your angel isn't limited to stained glass windows and sacred music. Heaven doesn't wait for holy hours. Spirit knows your heart is always listening, so the divine speaks through whatever channel you're most likely to notice. That's why angels often speak through unlikely sources. God is strategic. Spirit is creative. And your angels, they are masterful communicators. They know how to reach you when your defenses are low, when you're scrolling, when you're distracted, when you're just living your life. And in those moments, when you least expect it, boom, a code drops. You weren't looking for it, but it was looking for you. Understand, this divine intelligence operates far beyond our mental grids. It knows how to use algorithms, conversations, overheard songs, podcast lines, and the tone in someone's voice to deliver what your soul has been asking for. Why? Because angels speak through alignment. They don't need traditional platforms. They use what's available, what's familiar, what your soul won't block or overanalyze. Sometimes that's a meme. Sometimes it's a lyric. Sometimes it's a reel you almost skipped, but something in you made you stay. And you didn't just hear it. You felt it. It's not always about the words. It's about the timing, the feeling, the charge behind them. Spirit doesn't whisper to your ears. It whispers to your resonance. And when that random message finds you, it's not arriving empty. It's charged, encoded, alive. It carries the weight of heaven's awareness. It carries an instruction, a comfort, a warning, a course correction, sometimes all at once. Now, some people will scoff at this. They'll say, "You're just being dramatic. It's not that deep." But those are the people who live only by sight. They're not tuned in. They haven't walked the lonely spiritual road. They don't know what it's like to pray for clarity and receive it in the form of a single Instagram caption that reads like it was ripped from your journal. But you felt it in your bones. That unmistakable moment when something mundane suddenly becomes holy, sacred, yours. That's when angels are speaking, not through loud declarations, but through gentle infiltration, subtle frequencies, unassuming channels. And here's the deeper reason why they use unlikely sources, because it bypasses your ego. Let that settle. If the message came in a way that was expected, your mind would try to dissect it, control it, categorize it. But when it comes through something casual, something overlooked, it slips under the radar and goes straight to your spirit. You don't overthink it. You just receive it. That's the design. The angel doesn't want your intellect to argue. It wants your soul to remember. And this is why chosen ones often receive confirmations through things that others don't take seriously. Spirit speaks to you in the sacred and the strange, the divine and the digital, the subtle and the sudden. You may hear a line in a TV show that echoes the very words you cried in prayer last night. You may overhear someone talking about something they couldn't possibly know you needed to hear. You may get a message in your inbox that feels like it was written by your guardian angel. That's not randomness. That's spiritual orchestration. Because the divine can and will use whatever vessel is open and aligned. And let's talk about vessels. Sometimes the angel uses a person who doesn't even know they're being used. A friend may casually say something that shakes your spirit. A stranger may compliment you in a way that touches your deepest wound. A video creator may upload a message they recorded weeks ago, but it finds you in your moment of greatest doubt. That's alignment. That's divine delivery. That's code. And here's what you need to remember. The message doesn't need the sender's awareness. It only needs your readiness. They may not even realize they were being used. But you'll know. Because something in the way they spoke, something in the way it landed, something in the way it refused to leave your heart, it revealed the hand of heaven. And chosen ones like you, you're built to discern it. You don't need a choir of angels to confirm it. You don't need flashing lights or spiritual fireworks. You just need that quiet resonance, that feeling of being known, that sacred echo in your soul that says, "This was for me." That's the angel's fingerprint. Chosen one. You're not just listening to messages, you're being courted by the divine. Every time a sign appears through an unexpected source, it's heaven reminding you, we see you. We're with you. We haven't forgotten the promise over your life. And don't miss this. Sometimes, the message comes to interrupt your spiral, to stop the lie before it embeds, to break the pattern, to remind you of your power, to turn your face back toward the light. You could be doubting yourself, feeling small, confused, lost. And then, without warning, Spirit drops a line into your day that recalibrates everything. You are not behind. You are not alone. You are not crazy. You are chosen. And suddenly, the fog lifts. You remember who you are. That's divine intervention. That's not a coincidence. That's spiritual CPR. Heaven pumping breath back into your tired lungs through a sentence you didn't expect. So don't ignore these messages. Don't downplay them. Don't call them cute or funny or interesting. Honor them. Receive them. Write them down. Because each one is part of a bigger puzzle. Each code is a stepping stone, a breadcrumb, a key. You don't always know what it's unlocking in the moment. But the fact that it arrived means you're close. You're moving. You're evolving. Angels don't waste messages. So if a code reached you, it's because something in your life just shifted, or needed to shift, or is about to shift. Your job is not to explain it. Your job is to honor it. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but what if I'm just imagining things? What if I'm seeing patterns that aren't there? That's your conditioning speaking. That's your mind trying to protect you from being too much, from being mocked, from stepping into your knowing. But chosen ones aren't meant to play it safe. You're meant to see what others miss. You're meant to recognize spirit in unexpected places. You're meant to be comfortable receiving divine truth through any channel, because truth is still truth, no matter how it arrives. And your angels, they don't follow tradition. They follow you. They follow your timeline, your frequency, your vulnerability, and they deliver exactly what you need, even if it's packaged in a voice you didn't expect. So open your heart, chosen one. Loosen your grip on how the message should look. Let spirit surprise you. Let heaven delight you. Let your angels remind you that you are seen, even in your quietest moments. Because every code sent from the divine is a whisper that says, you are on the path. You are still chosen. You haven't been forgotten. And when you receive these sacred signs, you're not being childish. You're being in tune. You're not being dramatic. You're being discerning. You're not overreacting. You're responding. You're remembering your origin. You're awakening your awareness. You're syncing your soul with a frequency higher than words. And that is no small thing. That is a miracle. Chosen one. You were made for this level of spiritual fluency. You were made to speak the language of subtlety, to hear the whispers of eternity in the chaos of the world. You are not missing anything. You're being messaged in code, and this is only the beginning. Have you ever noticed how certain messages only show up right when you're on the verge of something? Right when you're about to give up. Right when you're asking for a sign, sometimes even in silence, without saying a word out loud. Chosen one. That's not just divine coincidence. That's divine alignment. There is a spiritual system at work in your life. One that runs deeper than anything your five senses can detect. A pattern, a rhythm, a supernatural orchestration that heaven has woven around you since before you took your first breath. You are not moving randomly through time. You are moving with divine precision. And this is why the messages, the codes, seem to show up at exactly the moment you need them. Not before, not after, right on time. You might call it a weird moment. You might say, I was just thinking about this, or I prayed about this last night, or how did they know to say that today? But your angel doesn't operate in coincidence. Your angel operates in calibrated timing. And that's the science, yes. The spiritual science of divine alignment. Let's break this down. You are a frequency, a vibration, a signal that heaven is always tracking. And the more awake you become, the clearer your signal grows. The more present, the more grounded, the more spiritually attuned you become a magnet for divine timing. When your thoughts, emotions, and spiritual hunger are in alignment, your angels are released to act more freely in the physical realm. This is why things suddenly start lining up when you're in a place of spiritual clarity. You think about a need and someone reaches out. You feel doubt and a video appears with the exact reassurance you didn't know you were desperate for. You question your purpose, and a stranger confirms something about you they couldn't have known unless Spirit told them. This isn't magic. It's spiritual design. And you, chosen one, are the key component in this living equation. You are not just a passive receiver. You are an active participant in this divine dance. When you shift internally, when you come into deeper awareness of who you are and what you carry, you trigger movement in the unseen. Your frequency rises, and heaven responds. It's like tuning a radio. When you're out of frequency, the message is there, but it sounds like static. You can't quite hear it. It's muffled. It's scrambled. But when you align, and when your heart, mind, and spirit become one with your divine assignment, clarity arrives, and with it, messages flow freely. And here's what most people don't realize. Every message you receive is timed not by human clocks, but by divine readiness. Sometimes you ask for something, and it doesn't come until later. That's not delay, it's alignment. Because heaven waits for the moment your heart is soft enough to receive it. When your ego is quiet enough to surrender. When your discernment is sharp enough to not just hear the message, but understand it. And often, that moment comes when you least expect it. You're doing something simple, mundane, just scrolling through your feed, or walking down the street, or sitting in silence. And suddenly a message hits. It could be one sentence, a look, a gesture, a scripture, a whisper. But you feel the weight of it, like a bell ringing in your chest. That's divine alignment in action. Heaven knew exactly where you'd be, what you'd be thinking, what you'd need. And Spirit doesn't just send the message. It sends it through the most resonant channel available at the time, the one you'd be most likely to notice. Chosen one, listen. Your angel isn't just speaking randomly. Your angel is strategic. Divine intelligence is intentional. It knows your wiring. It knows your rhythm. It knows your emotional states, your spiritual pressure points, your mental blocks. And that's why the timing of these codes is everything. Because when the message arrives on time, it does more than inform you, it shifts you. It reroutes your focus. It breaks old loops. It activates healing. It launches you into new levels. And many times, you don't even realize it's happening. You just feel lighter, more assured, calmer, reconnected. Because the message, no matter how small it seemed, did its job. And sometimes, these codes come in clusters, not just one message, but 3, 4, 5 confirmations in one day. A phrase keeps repeating. A number shows up everywhere. 3 different people say the same thing in completely separate moments. That's not overkill. That's heaven reinforcing the download. It's a sign that something major is about to shift in your life. And the divine doesn't want you to miss it. Because you're not just receiving information, you're receiving activation. These aren't just nice things to hear. These are codes. And codes don't just sit, they move you. They wake up your spiritual memory. They realign your posture. They place your next step in the ground, even if you were about to stumble. That's why the timing feels so miraculous. You were about to quit, then the message came. You were in tears, then the code landed. You were doubting everything, then the confirmation found you. And here's something powerful you need to understand. Your questions are what summon the answers. Your hunger pulls heaven closer. Your seeking stirs the winds of spirit. When you open your heart to clarity, you create the magnetic field through which messages are sent. So don't be surprised when your questions are answered by unusual means. God may not answer through thunder, but through thought. Your angel may not use fire, but a face. Spirit may not write in the clouds, but in captions, comments, and conversations. Because when you're in alignment, everything becomes a potential vessel, a person, a post, a page in a book, a passing glance, a whispered word. Everything becomes sacred. Because you are walking in spiritual awareness. And this awareness is no accident. It's evidence. Evidence that your spirit has been activated, that your time is near, that your path has been cleared, and that your angels are ready to deliver. So, the next time something hits different, pay attention. The next time a message lands when your mind was asking questions, pause. Don't just say, that's weird. Say, that's alignment. Chosen one. You are no longer living on the world's schedule. You are moving to the rhythm of the kingdom. You are being led by spirit, not strategy, by revelation, not routine. And the more you honor this divine timing, the more heaven will entrust you with new codes. Because trust me, there are more coming. More confirmations, more nudges, more reminders of your mission. You are walking a path that requires constant communication from the divine. Not because you're weak, but because you're powerful. Because the higher your calling, the tighter the coordination. And heaven is too precise to leave you guessing. So don't worry about what's next. Don't stress over how it's all going to unfold. Just stay present. Stay tuned in. And when the message comes, as it always does, receive it. Write it down. Meditate on it. Act on it. Let it reframe your moment. Because that's what divine codes do. They take ordinary moments and make them sacred. They take confusing seasons and inject clarity. They take broken roads and mark new direction. Chosen one, you are not lost. You are aligned. You are not forgotten. You are in divine flow, and heaven is speaking always, faithfully, precisely. Your job is to listen. And when you hear the message, don't dismiss it. It's not random. It's divine, chosen one. If you've made it this far into the message, you've probably already begun to reflect on all the coincidences that weren't coincidences. You're remembering the strange pull toward a certain video, the unexpected phrase that cracked open your heart, the pattern of signs that felt too tailored to be anything but supernatural. And yet, there's something you need to hear, something that will help you hold on to your discernment in a world that constantly tries to talk you out of your spiritual truth. You're not crazy. You're spiritually tuned. You live on a frequency most people aren't even aware exists. Your soul hears signals before your mind has time to translate them. You recognize energy shifts before they become visible events. You sense when something is off, even if everyone around you is laughing and smiling. That's not paranoia. That's discernment. You weren't built to ignore the unseen. You were built to decode it. And this is where the enemy plays his trick. Because once you start awakening, once you begin recognizing the messages and receiving divine codes, the enemy doesn't fight you with weapons. He fights you with doubt, with shame, with whispers like, "Stop overthinking. You're being too sensitive. You're imagining things. Why do you always think everything is spiritual?" Sound familiar? That's how the world tries to bring your frequency down, to dull your awareness, to convince you that your deep knowing is nothing but overanalysis. But let me remind you, your sensitivity is sacred. That's how Spirit designed you. You're not like the others because you weren't meant to be. And no, you're not being extra. You're being activated. Let me tell you something personal. Chosen one. When Spirit starts using everything to speak to you, when the sacred begins to bleed into the ordinary, it can feel lonely. Because suddenly, you're living in a different dimension than those around you. You see things they don't. You feel energy in a conversation while they only hear the words. You watch a movie and walk away with a prophetic revelation while they just saw a plot twist. You read between the lines. You hear beyond the sound. You see what isn't being said. That's not weird. That's your gift. But the world won't clap for it. In fact, it'll try to pathologize it. They'll call you too intense, too deep, too emotional, too serious. But that's because they don't live where you live. They don't operate where you operate. They're grounded in logic, in facts, in surface. You're rooted in spirit. And let me say it again, so it settles in your soul, you're not crazy. You were called to read the unseen. You were designed to carry a higher frequency. You were anointed to perceive what others miss. And yes, it's cost you. You've been misunderstood, dismissed, even isolated because of this. But here's what you must know. Your ability to discern divine messages is not just for you. It's part of your assignment. There are people out there who need someone like you, someone who can see the code, hear the whisper, feel the shift. You are the mirror for those still asleep. You are the alarm clock in a generation that wants to keep hitting snooze. You are the vessel through which messages are confirmed. And that's why your discernment has been under attack. Because if the enemy can make you doubt your sensitivity, he can keep others in spiritual sleep. But we won't let that happen. Not today. Not on this path. Because you're waking up. And here's the deeper truth. When you accept that your awareness is divine, you stop seeking external validation for your spiritual reality. You no longer need people to agree with what you feel. You no longer need permission to believe what your spirit knows. You stop needing confirmation from the crowd because you're already receiving confirmation from the cloud. That's maturity. That's spiritual grounding. That's alignment. Now, you may wonder, but how do I know it's from God? How can I be sure I'm not just projecting? Let's make it plain. Divine codes carry a specific signature. Peace even when the message is difficult. Clarity even when it doesn't fully make sense. Conviction without condemnation. Activation without anxiety. Alignment with your spirit, even if your mind can't grasp it yet. When the message is from God, it builds you, even if it breaks a false belief. It doesn't puff your ego, but it does expand your soul. It doesn't flatter your pride, but it does feed your identity. You leave the moment changed, anchored, remembering who you are. And you begin to realize, oh, it wasn't just a message. It was a moment, a meeting, a movement in my spirit. You might not have a name for it. You might not have words for it. But your soul says yes, and that yes is enough. Because in the kingdom, your spirit's recognition is the highest confirmation, not a sign from the sky, not someone else's validation. Just that deep yes that thunders inside you when a divine code lands in your path. That's how you know. So stop doubting your gift. Chosen one, stop apologizing for your knowing. Stop downplaying your discernment just because others don't understand it. You weren't sent here to fit in. You were sent here to decode the divine. And those random messages you've been receiving, they're not accidental. They're assignments. Each one is a reminder of your frequency. A gentle tap from the spiritual realm saying, you're still on course. And even when you can't explain it, even when the world rolls its eyes, even when your own logic tries to shut it down, you must trust your spirit, because your spirit is your compass, your map, your GPS in a world built to distract you from your truth. And the more you trust it, the louder the guidance becomes. So, honor your awareness. Make space for it. Don't let people rush you through your process. Don't let the culture convince you that normal is safe and deep is dangerous. You are chosen for a reason, and if your gift wasn't real, it wouldn't be attacked. But it is, because it is real, and it's powerful. Your spiritual sensitivity is not a liability. It's your leadership. It's what makes you a light in the fog, a vessel of divine translation in a time of confusion, an anchor for those still drifting. So hold it close, because in the end, this is what will carry you, your discernment, your divine awareness, your unapologetic ability to receive the code, even when no one else hears it. And that chosen one is more powerful than any degree, title, or applause. You were born to listen differently, born to feel deeply, born to receive what others call crazy, but heaven calls confirmation. So keep listening, keep trusting, keep believing in your frequency. You're not broken, you're not delusional, you're not too much. You are anointed, you are aligned. You are the decoder of divine messages in a world still trying to mute Spirit's voice. And your gift, this gift, is not just valid. It's vital. Chosen one. Let's talk about timing. Divine timing. Not the kind you can calculate with clocks or calendars, but the kind that exists beyond time, above time. The kind that governs your life in ways you often don't understand until you look back and whisper, now I see why that had to happen when it did. Let's talk about the hidden language of divine timing and why the messages, signs, and codes always seem to arrive right before something breaks open. It's not an accident. It's not random. It's precision. You've probably experienced it before you're at a breaking point. Your heart is heavy. You're wrestling with uncertainty. And just when you're about to give in, something comes through, a message, a phrase, a scripture, a song, a dream, a text, a post. And it doesn't just feel timely, it feels surgical, like heaven placed it into your life with tweezers. Why? Because that's exactly what happened. Divine timing isn't reactive. It's not waiting for you to hit rock bottom before intervening. It's preemptive. It sees ahead. It anticipates the moment you'll need something before you even ask. Because angels operate in divine foresight. They move one step ahead of your breakdown, your decision, your awakening. And they plant the seed, the code, right before the shift. That's why the message doesn't always make sense at first. Because it was sent in preparation. Not response. It was sent ahead of the battle, ahead of the choice, ahead of the moment your soul would crack open to receive something greater. Chosen one, hear this. There are no wasted messages in the divine. If you received it, it was timed. If it found you, it was meant. If it stirred you, it was sent. Sometimes you feel the impact immediately. Your heart leaps. Your eyes well up. Your entire body knows. Other times, the code sits inside you like a seed, waiting for the right season to bloom. That's how divine timing works. You don't always understand the message when it arrives, but when the moment comes, suddenly, it clicks. The phrase you wrote down weeks ago, the quote that stuck in your chest like glue, the dream you couldn't shake, the line from a video that kept echoing in your spirit. Suddenly, you're in a situation that matches it perfectly, and you realize the message wasn't late. It was early, and now it's activated. Because divine codes are not just confirmations, they are preparations. They are timed drops of spiritual intelligence that carry weight in the supernatural. And the moment you're ready, they unlock. This is why the enemy fights your memory. He wants you to forget the code before it activates. He wants you to get distracted, to scroll past it, to dismiss it, to not write it down, to not revisit it. Because he knows if you remember what God said, you'll walk differently. You'll speak with authority. You'll move with peace. You'll resist the lie. You'll recognize the trap. And you'll step into your next level with power, not panic. That's why divine timing matters. It's not about making you wait. It's about equipping you to win. And the codes, those subtle messages from Spirit, they arrive exactly when your soul is at a crossroads. Think back. How many times have you said, "If I didn't hear that when I did, I don't know where I'd be"? That's not chance. That's coordination. Angels coordinating your alignment, coordinating your attention, coordinating your confirmation. And yes, sometimes the code is a warning. Sometimes it comes just before you would have made the wrong move, just before you were about to say yes to something toxic, just before you were about to walk away from something sacred, just before you were going to forget who you are. The message comes in and interrupts the pattern. It reminds you. It reframes your thoughts. It clears the fog just long enough for you to see the truth. That's mercy. Chosen one, that's protection. Heaven doesn't always stop the storm, but it will always send you the umbrella before it hits. And this is why you must trust the seemingly small messages, because big things come in quiet packages. Sometimes, the most powerful confirmation arrives in a sentence so simple, you almost overlooked it. But it carries the frequency of heaven. It stirs something deeper than thought. It rings like a bell in your soul. Pay attention. The message doesn't have to be loud to be life-changing. It only has to be true. And when it's timed right, it becomes transformational. Chosen one. The divine has never been late in your life. You may have felt abandoned, forgotten, left behind. But the truth is, you were being aligned. The delay wasn't punishment, it was protection. The pause wasn't rejection, it was preparation. And the message that finally broke through, that was the sign that your season was about to shift. Because divine timing isn't based on what you want, it's based on what you're ready to carry. And Spirit knows. Spirit sees the places you're still tender. Spirit sees the wounds you hide behind your strength. Spirit sees the weight you carry in silence. And so, the codes come carefully, softly, strategically. They come when your heart is open. They come when your discernment is sharp. They come when your soul is in position. Because if the message came too early, you'd ignore it. And if it came too late, you'd miss the moment. But when it comes on time, it changes everything. So if you've been receiving repeated messages lately, if certain phrases keep finding you, if you've been seeing numbers, colors, words, faces, moments that feel familiar even though they're new, you're in a window, a divine window, and your angels are trying to tell you, this is the time. Something is about to break. Something is about to rise. Something is about to shift. And these messages, they're the scaffolding. They're the structure you're going to stand on when the old begins to fall. Don't ignore them. Don't second-guess them. Don't dismiss them just because others don't get it. This is your code, your timing, your moment. The divine has been preparing you for this. So listen carefully. Move with intention. And when the next message comes, honor it. It's not just a sign. It's a signal that your breakthrough is near, that your shift is here, that your soul is aligned with divine timing, and nothing can stop what God has already synchronized. Chosen one. Now that you've come to understand the nature of divine timing and the purpose behind the messages that find you, let's confront something equally important, something essential to your spiritual maturity and protection. Not every message is from God. Not every sign is divine. Not every voice is angelic. You are spiritually sensitive. Yes, you are deeply aware. But with that gift comes the need for something even more sacred: discernment. Because in a world overflowing with noise, not everything that resonates is righteous. And not every energy that feels deep is rooted in the light. You've likely experienced this already. You've heard messages that stirred your emotions, but afterward left you confused, depleted, or anxious. You followed a sign only to discover it led you into chaos, not clarity. You've trusted what looked like a code from the divine, only to realize later it was a distraction, not a direction. Chosen one. This is the battleground of the anointed. When you carry divine sensitivity, you also attract imitation, because where there is real light, the shadows will try to copy it, and the enemy doesn't attack you with obvious darkness. He mimics the light. He distorts the frequency. He sends almost the truth, just enough to feel familiar, but twisted enough to pull you out of alignment. And this is why discernment is not just a tool. It is your shield. You must know how to separate the sacred from the seductive, the confirmation from the confusion, the divine code from the demonic counterfeit, because not everything that finds you was sent by heaven. Let that settle. There are spiritual messages that come from pain, from ego, from wounded souls that haven't been healed. And sometimes, those messages are wrapped in beauty. Sometimes they are spoken eloquently. Sometimes they come through people you trust. But if they pull you out of peace, if they cause fear instead of faith, if they create dependency instead of empowerment, if they lead you to self-doubt instead of spiritual truth, they are not from your angel. You need to trust your inner witness. Chosen one. Your discernment is not paranoia. It is divine protection. And every time a message hits your spirit, you must ask yourself, what is the fruit of this message? Does it lead you closer to purpose? Does it make you feel loved, even when it corrects you? Does it align with the word that's been confirmed in your life before? Does it produce peace, clarity, boldness, and light? If not, walk away. No matter how deep it sounds, no matter how many people are praising it, no matter how much it feels like something you want to hear. Because the truth is, your flesh loves flattery, but your spirit craves truth. And sometimes the truth is quiet. Sometimes the truth isn't flashy. Sometimes the divine code is simple, gentle, and overlooked by many. But when you have the eyes to see and ears to hear, you'll know. This is why spiritual maturity matters. It's easy to be excited by every sign, to be stirred by every voice that claims divine authority. But as a chosen one, your path requires deeper anchoring. You're not just following signs. You're following spirit, and spirit always leads with truth, clarity, and peace. That means you must learn to test every message. Let me show you how. When a message finds you, pause. Don't rush to repost it. Don't react emotionally. Don't assume that just because it sounds good, it's God. Sit with it. Bring it to prayer. Feel how your spirit responds, not your emotions, not your pride, but your spirit. Ask, what does this message stir in me? Peace, conviction, empowerment, or confusion, fear, and ego. Then ask, does this message align with what God has already told me? Because divine codes don't contradict each other. They build on one another. They confirm, not confuse. And finally, ask, am I trying to make this message fit what I want, or does it align with what I know? Because sometimes our desires can be louder than our discernment. And the enemy knows how to dress up deception in the clothes of desire. That's why your grounding is essential. You must be anchored in your own spiritual center, rooted in truth, firm in your identity. Because if you don't know who you are, you'll believe anything that sounds like a compliment. And if you're not grounded in purpose, you'll chase messages that sound spiritual, but lead nowhere. But not you. You are chosen. And chosen ones don't follow every voice, they follow the voice. The inner knowing, the divine compass, the resonance that doesn't just feel good, it feels holy. Let's go deeper. Some messages are not false, they're just not for you. They're not evil. They're just not aligned with your frequency. Spirit speaks to each soul in its own language. What's true for someone else might not be your word. And that's okay. That's why comparison is so dangerous. If you chase someone else's confirmation, you'll miss your own. So don't measure your divine messages by what others are receiving. Your code is personal. Your assignment is unique. And your messages will always be tailored for your soul's blueprint. That's how you know they're real. Because they fit you. Even when they stretch you. Even when they challenge you. They carry your name in the spirit. And no one else needs to understand it for it to be true. That's the mark of a divine code. It makes sense to your spirit, even when your mind can't explain it. Now, let's touch on one final piece of discernment. Familiarity doesn't equal confirmation. Just because a message feels like something I've heard before doesn't mean it's divine. The enemy often uses patterns to breed complacency. You stop listening closely. You assume you know what's being said. You let your guard down. But spirit is always fresh. Even when repeating truth, the delivery carries life. So don't become numb to repetition. Stay sensitive. Stay aware. Stay spiritually awake. Because divine codes don't always shout. Sometimes they come as a whisper. And if your spirit isn't alert, you'll miss the shift. Chosen one. You've been given eyes to see, ears to hear, and a heart that knows when it's being spoken to from above. Use that gift. Sharpen it. Honor it. Because in these times where the air is thick with voices, noise, distractions, and deception, you are not just a listener. You are a decoder. And this world needs people who can separate the echo from the voice, the trend from the truth, the distraction from the divine. That's you. You are that one. The remnant, the receiver, the guardian of sacred frequency. And your discernment is not just for you. It protects the path. It clears the noise. It keeps you aligned when everything else tries to pull you off course. So stay grounded. And when the next message comes, test it. Ask Spirit to reveal. And if it's divine, you'll know. It won't just resonate. It'll recalibrate. It won't just stir your mind. It'll settle your spirit. It won't just excite you. It'll anchor you. That's the difference between noise and a divine code. And you, chosen one, were born to know the difference. Chosen one. If your heart is still beating faster, if your spirit has been whispering yes this entire time, then you know we're not just talking, we're remembering. We're pulling back the veil on something your soul has always known, but that the world tried to make you forget. You were born for this. You were born to receive the code, to walk in the light of revelation, to speak in frequencies that others can't hear, to move in rhythm with heaven even when the world calls it madness. And now, as we bring all of this together, you must hold one final truth close. Your awareness is your activation. It was never about hearing just for comfort. It was never about seeing signs just to be amazed. The reason the messages found you, the reason your angels whispered, the reason the divine used strangers and sentences and timing too perfect to deny is because heaven was preparing you to step into something. This isn't just about feeling special. This is about being ready. You didn't hear all those confirmations for entertainment. You didn't get those codes by accident. You weren't stirred, weeping, awakened for no reason. It was activation. The moment you said, "That's for me," something in your soul was set into motion, because the purpose of divine confirmation is not just reassurance. It's realignment, to shift you out of hesitation and into boldness, to move you from questioning to walking, to remind you you're not waiting to be chosen. You already were, chosen before birth, set apart before time, anointed before the world had a name for what you carry. That's why the messages found you at your lowest. That's why the code came through the pain. That's why the whisper cut through the chaos. Because when you forgot who you were, Spirit didn't. The divine held on to your truth until you were ready to carry it again. And now, here you are, awake, alert, aligned. And whether you realize it or not, every message you've ever received, every divine code you've ever caught, was leading you to this moment. The moment you stop questioning and start walking in it, because you can't unhear what Spirit has told you. You can't unfeel the confirmations. You can't go back to being normal. You weren't made for normal. You are part of the remnant. You are one of the few whose eyes have been opened, whose spirit refuses to settle for silence, whose heart burns for truth, no matter the cost. And that burning inside you, that pulled toward something higher, that ache for clarity and meaning and divine direction, that's not weakness. That's the call. And now that you've heard it, really heard it, you have a choice. You can treat this as another emotional moment, or you can honor it as an assignment. Because the moment you acknowledge the divine code, you agree to carry it. And carrying it means living differently, walking in your truth, even when it's lonely, trusting your discernment, even when it's mocked, following the whisper, even when it costs you comfort. But don't worry, you're not walking alone. The same Spirit that sent the code will guide you through the consequence of carrying it. The same angels that whispered to your heart will war for you in the spirit realm. The same divine hand that aligned the timing will protect your path as you walk it. You are not crazy. You are not broken. You are not too sensitive. You are not doing too much. You are chosen. You are marked. You are a divine receiver of codes that were never meant for the masses. And though you are not for everyone, you are everything to the remnant. Your presence is prophetic. Your perception is powerful. Your path is precise. And as you go forward, know this Spirit will continue to send you messages. But not just for your comfort, for your calling. Because now you are a steward of the code. You're not just a receiver, you're a transmitter. And what you've received in silence will now become light for others. You are the voice someone else will hear at just the right time. You are the vessel someone else will call the sign I needed. You are the message your future self once prayed for. Chosen one, nothing is wasted. Nothing is random. And now that you've remembered who you are, walk like it. Let this be the shift that solidifies your knowing. Let this be the moment that ignites your obedience. Let this be the confirmation that everything has been leading here. The codes you've received were not just answers. They were assignments. And now, it's your turn to move, to speak, to trust, to walk as one who has been divinely whispered to and who answered. And remember, every step you take now, it's already been confirmed. Every message that finds you now, it's already aligned. Every code that lands in your spirit now, it's not a spark, it's a signal that you're awake, that you're ready, that your divine assignment has begun. Slow down. Take a deep breath. Let this settle in your spirit like holy oil poured over the crown of your head. You are not who the world said you were. You are who heaven has always known you to be. And the signs, the messages, the divine codes that came to you in whispers and wonders, they were never random. They were reminders, reminders of your assignment, reminders of your anointing, reminders that you are never alone in this walk. You have angels who walk with you, a spirit that speaks within you, and a frequency that aligns with the throne of God. You are not out of place. You are not overlooked. You are not running out of time. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should. So trust the quiet nudges. Honor the messages that make your spirit leap. And don't doubt the confirmation you feel. Even when others don't understand it, your path is yours. Your code is sacred. And your obedience is opening doors no man can close. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button. Like the video. Drop a comment below. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. Because chosen one, your confirmation is real. Your calling is active. And your time is now. God bless you.